Australia is a land of extremes. From scorching deserts to steaming jungles and wind-battered islands. It is a tough place to survive. But there are some animals that dominate each and every one of these extreme habitats. The snakes. Stealth, aggression, deception, and deadly venom make them top predators right across the country. This is the story of Australia's snakes and how they have evolved to thrive on one of the harshest continents on Earth. Over 70% of Australia's landmass is desert. With temperatures soaring to 50 degrees Celsius and water scarce, it's a brutal place to live. But some have it all figured out. More reptiles live on the continent than anywhere else on the planet. They are armed for the battle of desert life, especially those that bear chemical weaponry. The snakes. This female inland taipan is on the hunt. In a place where there is little chance for sustenance, any opportunity to eat must be seized swiftly. Bearing the deadliest venom of all the world's snakes, this taipan's bite can paralyze and kill prey in just seconds. But first she must locate a target. Highly specialized receptors on her tongue enable her to detect food. At last, the scent of a meal. A plains mouse. The taipan picks up on the rodent's chemical cues and follows the trail. Her elongated body enables her to slip easily into her prey's retreat. There is nowhere for the rodent to hide. She strikes and retreats. A hunting method exclusive to taipan. By avoiding a fight, they conserve precious energy. Running is no use. In just seconds, the taipan's venom is already taking effect on her victim. As venom ensures a swift kill, it takes a lot of energy to produce. So it's vital her stores are replenished for future hunts. She detects more sustenance in the burrow. Her smooth, silent scales allow for a stealthy approach. A meal of this size could trigger reproduction. Female taipans can store the sperm of a male for up to a year. The fertilization process only occurring once food is in high supply. With any luck, this will provide her the energy to bring the next generation into the world. While many snakes have evolved to survive the country's desolate interior, others dominate a severely different landscape. Australia's northeast is home to the wet tropics region, a pocket of lush jungle that accounts for less than 1% of the landmass. There's a higher concentration of reptiles in these forests than anywhere else in the country. They house over 30% of Australia's snake species, including the notorious amethystine python, otherwise known as the king of the jungle. Growing up to 8 meters in length, the amethystine outsizes the crocodile. Their strong, muscular bodies are their lethal weapon. Unlike the desert snakes, pythons are venomless. When they find a meal, they strangle it to death. Recent studies reveal that pythons made their way to Australia from Asia 23 million years ago, many becoming forest specialists. In this dense environment, the amethystine has finely tuned senses that enable it to home in on a meal, even in the dead of night. As the python hunts, it relies not on eyesight, but infrared sensors. Pit organs located on its head detect the heat of warm-blooded creatures. Sensing a meal nearby, the python uses its taste to zero in. At last, dinner. A forest rat. All that's left to do is to time the strike right. There is no escaping the deadly coils of a 30-kilogram predator. The python consumes the rat whole. Until recently, how they digest a meal of such size was relatively unknown. But breakthrough studies have revealed the snake's metabolism will increase up to 40 times, and their vital organs will momentarily double in size to manage the rapid influx of calories. It's a satisfying feast, well worth the effort. While the amethystine python may be known as the king of the jungle, further south in the country's temperate forests, where eucalypt trees dominate the landscape, there's a snake known as the king of the bush. The fearsome red-bellied black snake. These highly venomous snakes predominantly inhabit the east coast of Australia. They are skilled predators in the water and on land. Nothing beneath the water's surface is safe from the red-bellied black snake, especially from a male during breeding season. Traveling vast distances in search of a female, this male is ravenous. He stirs up the creek's sediment, a clever ploy to flush out prey. There's no safety on dry land for this spotted marsh frog. The snake follows the trail of its prey's chemical cues, With finely tuned hearing, the frog detects danger and scrambles for cover. But out of sight is not out of mind for the snake. He's so close, he can taste it. The fangs deliver a paralyzing blow, and the snake wastes no time making a meal of its victim. Captive red-bellied black snakes have been known to regurgitate live frogs, which suggests the venom may not kill the animals. Although consumed, this snake's meal may still be alive. With fuel for the journey ahead, the male continues its search for a female. But he hits a roadblock. Another red-bellied black snake has claimed this patch of turf as his own. The resident male arcs up. By raising his forebody in a threatening display, he wards the intruder off. But it seems the intruder is prepared to hold ground. Combat will determine who gets the right to mate with nearby females. To win this game, he must hold the first male down long enough to assert dominance. The intruder sinks his fangs into his opponent. Immune to one another's venom, it's a ploy to keep the other grounded. But the resident male is not giving up his territory easily. He ferociously bites the intruder. Battles may last up to half an hour. But not today. The resident male has come out on top, leaving the intruder to seek a female elsewhere. Although Australia's snake species are perhaps most famous for being land predators, there are some that have carved out their niches under the sea. The Great Barrier Reef is the most diverse marine ecosystem on the planet. One of the 7 natural wonders of the world, the reef runs for 3,000 kilometers along the northeast coast of Australia and spans an area the size of Germany. Over 9,000 animal species crowd together to reap the benefits of the food-rich waters. Among them are the sea snakes. 2 groups of sea snakes inhabit Australian waters. The sea kraits, like this banded sea krait, split their time between land and water. They go to shore to rest and breed, but take to the ocean to forage. In addition to getting their oxygen from the air like terrestrial snakes, sea snakes have a special function that allows them to stay underwater for hours at a time. Drawing oxygen from the water, they breathe through their skin. It's a finely tuned system, 10 million years in the making. A time when some of Australia's terrestrial snakes began to transition to the sea. Incredibly, some species have evolved to become fully aquatic. Unlike other marine reptiles that must return to land to bear young, the olive sea snake spends its entire life cycle in the ocean. A flattened paddle-like tail propels it through the water. And special nostril valves prevent salt water entering its respiratory system while diving. Although their lives are vastly different, sea snakes do share some similarities with their land-based cousins. Armed with fangs and venom, they are notorious predators. Growing up to 2 meters in length, the olive sea snake is feared by many of the reef's smaller species. Until recently, little was known about the underwater sensory systems of sea snakes. But scientists have unlocked the secret. They have a sixth sense. Dome-shaped scales on the snake's head absorb vibrations emitted from their surroundings, allowing them to detect the slightest movement of nearby prey and nearby predators. With this super sense, it's difficult to hide from a hungry sea snake. If this fish thinks it's found a refuge, it's about to discover otherwise. With the longest fangs of any sea snake, the serpent grips its prey and delivers a blow of paralyzing toxins. Which allows the snake to consume its meal immediately. Like its land-dwelling relatives, olive sea snakes are solitary creatures, only coming together when there's an important job to do. Breeding is a rare event in the life of a sea snake. With adults only reaching sexual maturity after the age of 3, and reproduction only taking place every 2nd year, it's possible that this duo are having their first romantic encounter. Once they have courted, the pair will mate. But the female won't lay eggs like most terrestrial snakes, as there is no way for them to incubate underwater. Instead, after an 11-month gestation period, she'll give birth to live young. While sea snakes are a remarkable adaptation success story, there are others who've evolved to cope with the continent's extremities in ways that must be seen to be believed. Mount Island is situated in the Bass Strait, an inhospitable stretch of sea between Tasmania and Australia. It's part of a group of islands that were once connected to the mainland, but broke away during the last ice age. As the land separated, some of the wildlife went with it. But with no fresh water, harsh winds and severe winters, only the toughest creatures survived. Chapel Island tiger snakes are one of few native animals to exist on the island. But due to the lack of food, they spend most of the year in torpor, only waking for the arrival of a meal. Growing up to 2.5 meters in length, the Chapel tiger snakes are about double the size of mainland tiger snakes, and they have double the appetite. Each spring, hundreds of thousands of short-tailed shearwaters descend on the island. After spending the winter feeding in northern waters, they return when the weather warms to breed. The birds make their nests in burrows. But it's risky business when there are starving giants about. After spending 9 months underground, the tiger snakes are emaciated. They are literally just skin and bones. This snake is weak, but if it waits any longer, it may miss the chance to eat. Chapel Island tiger snakes prey upon live chicks, but only of a certain size. Once the chicks are a few weeks old, they're too big for the snake to eat. So now is the window of opportunity. With each chick guarded by a parent, it's not an easily accessible meal. First, the snake must clear the way. A strike of deadly venom swiftly ends the adult's life. With the chick's protector taken care of, the snake can begin its feast. If the snake is to survive until next year, it must consume as much food as it can. In the next few weeks, it will gorge on 8 chicks. An astonishing consumption that has seen the Chapel Island tiger snakes evolve into a population of giants. On this continent of extremes, reptiles have learned to adapt to the boom and bust rhythms of nature. In Australia's arid centre, it may be years between rains. But when the skies open up, the desert is a place reborn. The freshly drenched landscape doesn't only benefit the locals, it attracts visitors that come to reap the rewards. Budgerigars swarm to the desert. Able to sense rains from thousands of kilometers away, they journey here in giant superflocks. The abundance of fresh grass seed triggers a breeding frenzy. The budgies partner up, and a month later, they're busy rearing young. They make their nests in the privacy of tree hollows. Although they're shielded here, there's still reason for caution. The 𝗲𝗯𝗂𝗏 python is the desert's most notorious constrictor. It's usually a reptile specialist. But when there are birds in abundance, it will make an exception. With a preference for cold-blooded prey, the 𝗲𝗯𝗂𝗏 doesn't have or need heat-sensing pits like other pythons. When it's after a meal, it relies on its sense of smell and sight. With a pointed head, 𝗲𝗯𝗂s are adept diggers. It's a skill usually reserved for entering abandoned animal burrows to shelter from the elements. But today, it's searching for a meal. A nest so close to the ground is a perfect target. With such powerful bodies, 𝗲𝗯𝗂𝗏 pythons can squash their prey against nest or burrow walls to subdue them. But today, it uses its sharp teeth to hold the budgie mother in place. Then, using its muscular coils, the python takes her life. Once the mother is consumed, the 𝗲𝗯𝗂𝗏 targets the father. With no one left to defend the chicks, the python won't leave until it's made a meal of the whole family. While most reptiles must chase a meal during boom time, there's one that needn't bother. Year-round, the death adder employs a tactic where it makes its prey do all the hard work. This highly venomous snake wins meals via deception and trickery. Its secret weapon is its pale-colored tail, which resembles a juicy, wriggling grub. Once the adder finds the perfect hiding spot, all it has to do is wait for an unsuspecting passerby. Unlucky in this position, the adder seeks out another. Known for their patience, adders may wait in their hideouts days, even weeks for a meal. The snake senses the movement of a nearby skink and deploys its cunning trick. It lines up its tail to create a strike zone. The skink watches on curiously. Now that it has captured its target's attention, the adder repositions its tail. Placing it closer to its head will help to ensure a fail-proof strike. Thinking it's located a meal, the skink makes a move. Its prey is now within striking distance, and the adder waits. It wants its meal as close as possible. With one blow, the snake expels enough venom to paralyze the skink. Although this ambush required great patience, it required far less effort than going on the hunt. A great energy saver in this unpredictable desert landscape. While the cycles of the desert are wildly uncertain, in Australia's top end, it's a different story. 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗁𝗁 National Park is one of the world's most famous wetlands. Half the size of Switzerland, it's the largest national park on the continent. Here, the lives of animals are dictated by an annual monsoon and the tough times in between as they wait for the rains. Some of the planet's largest reptiles inhabit the waterways of 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗁𝗁. Saltwater crocodiles can grow to a formidable 5 meters long. The territorial salties usually stay well away from one another. For most of the year, one croc will occupy a 2 square kilometer range. But it's been nearly 5 months since the last rains fell, and billabongs are drying up. The crocodiles are forced to seek out new pools of water to inhabit. But when a male unknowingly enters another male's territory, things can get a little heated. To settle a dispute, the resident male will put on an aggressive display to show the intruder who's boss. As the dry time progresses, 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗁𝗁's cold-blooded residents dance with death. With temperatures nearing 50 degrees Celsius, heat stress is a serious risk. By covering themselves in mud, the crocodiles deflect some of the searing heat. A tactic that helps to keep them cool until the monsoon arrives. The croc isn't the only one seeking refuge in the drying billabong. A semi-aquatic species, the 𝗍𝗈𝗆 snake spends half its life in the water. But for the many dry months of the year, the snakes have adapted to live in the mud. Able to go 40 minutes without a breath, they bury themselves underground where it's cool and moist. Only surfacing when they need a vital oxygen top-up. These incredible adaptations ensure their survival until life-giving rains start to fall. Finally, the dry season skies give way to humidity, and the big wet arrives. The storms in 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗁𝗁 are some of the largest on Earth. As water drenches the Earth, the floodplains come back to life. Creatures who'd never typically venture out in the daylight make an appearance. The black-headed python usually spends the entire day in its burrow, but it heads straight to the nearest stream for some assistance with its shedding routine. The water helps to slough away old skin and scales. While submerged, the python takes the opportunity to recharge. Like a solar panel, its black head absorbs the sun's energy, powering it up to hunt down the influx of food brought by the rains. The monsoon is Kakadoo's giver of life. But unfortunately, it can welcome some unwanted residents. During wet times, invasive cane toads breed in epic proportions. Females are capable of producing over 70,000 young a year. Since the toads were introduced to Australia in the 1930s, they have decimated native animal populations. Armed with venom-secreting glands, they're lethal to most creatures who encounter them. Some of the most vulnerable to their toxins are snakes that try to make a meal. However, one snake species has an extreme adaptation to deal with this extreme intruder. The keelback snake is entirely venomless, yet it can eat the cane toad and survive. Incredible new studies reveal that the keelback has rapidly evolved into a toad-killing machine. In less than a century, the keelback's bodies have gotten bigger to metabolize their prey's toxins. And their heads have gotten smaller to limit the intake of food. The smaller the toad, the less poison to digest. A water specialist, keelbacks are primed to stake out the moist habitats the toads thrive in. Their ridge-like scales enable them to grip on as they traverse slippery surfaces searching for a meal. As the toads invade in plague proportions, food is never far off. The keelback has no venom to subdue its prey. Its weapon is sharp, backward curved teeth that holds the meal in place. Unlike other snakes that swallow their food head first, the keelback does the opposite. It's thought that devouring the toads from the rear may be an adaptation to assist in detoxification. As humans struggle to control the worsening toad invasion, perhaps the death-defying keelback will be part of the solution. As one of the most biodiverse countries on Earth, it's no wonder Australian habitats nurture intriguing animal interactions. This is particularly true in the forests of tropical Queensland, where snakes and other forest dwellers crowd together to take advantage of the bountiful forests. The Queensland carpet python is an ambush hunter. Adorned with geometric patterns of light and shade, it blends seamlessly into the light dappled forest. Usually, the carpet python would wait for a meal to pass by, then strike. But today, it has its eye on a different prize. Scrub turkey males are expert nest builders. In charge of incubating the eggs, they add and subtract sticks and leaves, ensuring the nest stays at just the right temperature. A nest of eggs would be a big win for the python. But first, it must deal with the nest's owner. The turkey puts up a fight. Nest building is months of work, and he's not letting it go to waste. Some things are not worth fighting for, especially when your opponent is this feisty. Today, the python has learned a valuable lesson. Never mess with a scrub turkey dad and his mound. While the carpet python slipped off to track down a meal in the canopy, there's another species doing the same in far north Queensland. The green tree python is an arboreal snake. A specially adapted prehensile tail allows it to climb and navigate the treetops with ease. And its dazzling green hue and yellow underbelly ensures it's well camouflaged amongst the foliage. Although the python only grows to 1.5 meters long, it's still a top forest predator. Its tapered-tailed tip also functions as bait. If there's a meal in range, the python may wriggle it to lure prey closer. An ambush hunter, it will seize the opportunity to eat any time. But night is the best time to hunt, with darkness providing the ultimate cover. In stealth mode, the python patrols the canopy. The heat-sensing pits in its upper lip help guide it towards its prey. Detecting warmth, the python moves towards a peaceful dove. As the predator slips along silently, the bird has no way of knowing what is about to happen. Long recurved teeth help hold the dove in place while it begins to constrict. It was long believed that victims were suffocated to death, but studies in the last decade reveal otherwise. The immense pressure of constriction cuts off blood supply, causing aneurysms and ultimately heart failure. Once the python senses the bird's heart is no longer beating, it begins to feast. Adapting to the extremities is the secret to success for wildlife here in Australia. And in Mount Etna National Park, there are snakes that have learnt to make the most of what they've got, in a most surprising way. In summertime, when the heat and humidity is stifling, the park's limestone caves provide respite for little bent-wing bats. 80% of the country's population flock here to give birth. In these maternity roosts, females bear a single pup and nurse them over the summer months until they're strong enough to leave the cave. But there is a price the bats pay for their temperature-controlled nursing suite. It comes with predators. A spotted python clings to the limestone walls as the female bats depart on their nightly foraging trip. Sensing the heat of the passing prey, the python times its assault to perfection. The snake crushes its victim to death. It is a skilled acrobatic predator. But this won't be the only fatality in the cave tonight. Known as the night tiger, the brown tree snake usually feeds by sneaking up on sleeping prey. But tonight it's taking advantage of the fly-through meal service on offer. Using venom, the snake subdues the bat before devouring it. But it's not only the adult bats that become prey. On the cave floor, an unsuspecting hunter patiently waits. A green tree frog. Each night as the adults leave in a flurry, bat pups can be knocked to the ground. An opportunity the frog seizes swiftly. The bats that defy the deadly jaws of the cave's inside predators are not entirely free from danger. Other snakes patrol the cave's entry point. A brown tree snake waits poised and ready to catch a meal. To capitalize on the bounty of food offered by these seasonal maternity roosts, local snakes have become specialist cave hunters. An astonishing example of opportunism and intelligence. In each corner of this diverse continent, snakes have learned to thrive. Dominant predators in every ecosystem, they are a shining example of evolutionary adaptation at its best. From the country's harsh deserts to its crowded tropical jungles, expansive underwater habitats, and out to its sub-Antarctic islands, the snakes have supremely and surprisingly adapted to whatever Mother Nature has thrown their way.